Hello. The Divine Code reading for August 8th, pages 123 and 124. The chapter on obligatory moral conduct. Topic number 6. Every person by nature is very influenced by his friends and surroundings, and by nature he is drawn after those around him, so to also act in their ways. Therefore, everyone should befriend good people and to learn from their worthy actions, and to distance themselves from bad people in order not to learn from their bad actions. As Solomon said in Proverbs 13:20, he who walks with the wise will be wise, while one who associates with fools will suffer. Therefore, one must also be especially careful about who his children and other household members are befriending and what places they are frequenting. We're influenced by those around us, and we're influenced by our surroundings. There's a human part of the human nature is to go with the group. So we have to make sure that we are hanging out with a group that's beneficial to go with. You hang out with the right group, and that kind of draws the person along with it. And likewise, if it's not as great of a group. So we have to be able to pick these groups, and we have to be able to pick our locations where we're at. It wouldn't be beneficial to be living in maybe the red light district of a city. That might be a place where a person would want to look to move to another place. You don't want to be in a place where there's a lot of activity going on that you don't want to be drawn into. A person wants to live in an area where it's beneficial to be drawn into the activity. If you live in an area with a lot of positive things, you live next to a library, you live next to the park where it has nice concerts in the park, and people are doing positive things. You want to go places where people are doing positive things. And this will cause the person living there to go along with it, to do positive things. If that means moving to another location, then that's what a person needs to do. Topic number 7. Likewise, it is an obligation for every person to endeavor to influence those around him, to observe things that they are obligated in a way of friendliness and sociability. One who is able to distance those around him from doing wrong has an obligation to do so, in order to support the foundation of a moral society. That will be as God wishes. As the prophet says, Isaiah 43:18, the world was not created to be void, but to be properly settled. And that verse is a major part of what we do, beyond the actual technical aspects of the 7 laws. That verse explains how we are to live our lives, what we are supposed to do is to make sure that we're to do things that help to settle the world, to make the world a civilized place. So when we're in a surrounding, and this can be if we're no matter what surrounding we're in, we should always seek to be an example of proper behavior, and to help with that example, to help influence people to the extent that we're able to influence them, to also emulate that example. We should be an example that others people would benefit from emulating. And if that means just being a good example, that's the most we can do. Because if we try to talk to people, if you try to be a good person, very often you can get away with that. If you try to tell somebody else to be a good person, you might get punched. But if the person is someone that is possible to tell, then we should tell. So it depends on the situation. But in any situation, we should always strive to be a positive example to those around us. Topic number 8. If one sees that his friend has sinned and is following an improper path, he knows that he will be able to effectively rebuke him with words and return him to the correct path. He should do so. So this is a case similar to the last topic. This is a case where the person has the opportunity to influence, but because he's a friend, it's someone he knows. Because he knows if he's going to tell the person and the person's just going to get angry at him for telling it, then you have to gauge it also by knowing who the person is, by having that extra interaction of being a friend. We are able to engage more, but we are also able to figure out what's the best way to say it to the person, because we know the person in this case. Will the person receive the words? We want to use words that the person will receive. We want to influence them in a way that works. How should he rebuke him? He should rebuke him patiently with respectful and nice words, and he should not speak harshly or embarrass him. Unless the one rebuking is a true scholar of human nature who understands that in this particular situation it is the correct way to influence him to be better, since each situation and person is different. His objective should be that his words should be accepted by the sinner's heart, and they should have the right effect. It is a very righteous deed to bring another to the merit of following the correct path, and one who accomplishes this does great good for humanity and brings God much pleasure. So we have to keep our focus on, we're not trying to embarrass the person, we're not trying to be mean to the person. We want to influence the person. That has to be the goal. To help the person. Not to berate the person, not to be mean to the person. So it's their goal. We have to keep our eye on the goal. If we really know the situation calls that it works, it'll work for the person. Not that it calls for it, but it works for the person to go at him in a hard manner. Then, but only if we really know that it's going to be effective. Otherwise, that's not the best way on the surface to do things. We have to keep our mind on the goal at all times, and that's to be a benefit to the person. If one begins to affectionately rebuke his friend, but sees that his words are not being accepted, he should not admonish him further in order to embarrass him, which will cause a useless fight. Rather, he should distance himself somewhat from the person so that it does not seem that he is agreeing to and supporting his actions. Certainly, one should never flatter sinners unless he is in great danger that they might harm him otherwise. So if in the process of rebuking, if we tell the person it's not proper to, you know, we're in Dunkin' Donuts and we see the person taking sugar packets and putting it in his pocket to use later. And we know that that's improper to do that. Dunkin' Donuts gives us sugar packets, so we put it in the coffee that we're buying at Dunkin' Donuts, not so we have it for later. And if I'm telling the person, hey, that's stealing, you can't do that, and the person is getting angry because in his mind, that's something that he should be allowed to do, and he figures that Dunkin' Donuts understands he's going to take it, and therefore it's no big deal. If I keep pushing the person, it's gonna just cause him to not, you know, it's going to cause him to go against what's being said, and will cause a barrier, and it might actually cause more damage. Rather than being positive, it'll be not positive. In that case, I should back myself away, not continue to rebuke the person. It's just going to cause difficulty, but kind of distance myself a little bit from that situation. I don't want to have nothing. I don't want to have nothing to do with this sugar packet heist. And I'm walking out on the sidewalk, and I don't want to be seen with you right now. You know, you just let the guy know in a milder way that it's not something that you approve of. You don't want to associate with this person when they're doing this. Now, if the guy's going to punch you in the nose because you're saying something, you know, you feel a need to, you know, for the sake of self-defense, you feel a need to speak kind words, or, you know, oh, I'm really glad you're getting those sugar packets. You're probably going to need it later, and that's really smart of you to do that because you don't want to get punched in the nose. You say those kind of words. That's would be under the category of not getting punched in the nose, which was described earlier in this work. And sometimes it's appropriate to tell a lie and tell the person it's okay when it's really not okay. There's sometimes it's okay to tell a lie, but usually you don't. Topic number 9. One should always try to respect every person and show him honor, and to speak about his honorable traits and deeds, but not about his disgraceful traits and deeds. Many fights in the road were brought about by people who spread tales, gossip, slander about others. The sage Ben Zoma said, it's in the Ethics of the Fathers 4:1, who is wise? One who learns from every person. Who is strong? One who subdues his evil inclination. Who is rich? One who is happy with his lot. Who is honored? One who honors others. So we should always, it's the accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. We want to say positive things. If I'm saying positive things about somebody, then that's going to influence the positive in that person. He's going to appreciate the positive being said, and other people are going to see, oh, there's some positive traits within that person. But we don't want to say, you know, and this is where it gets difficult. We don't want to, when we're saying something positive about a person, to put them on a pedestal so those negative aspects get become an influence also. That's the hard you know, balance to do. If I'm saying something nice about the person, but there's also negative characteristics for the person, we have to say it in such a way that we're influencing that person and influencing other people and influencing ourselves concerning the positive. If there's a person that's a Rasha, a wicked person, but we see something positive, we can say, it's so great that God gave this as a positive character trait, and I see this in this person, this positive character trait. It's, you know, we take it off the person, we place it onto God as being a positive character trait. That's one way of saying it. It's so wonderful that this person, you know, gives money to charity. Now the guy made the money dealing drugs, but he gave some money to charity. We need to say, oh, it's such a positive thing to give money to charity, and this person gave money to charity without having to focus on the person more, rather than focus on the deed. Might be the way to work that out. Because the whole idea is an obligatory moral conduct is to support proper conduct, and the conduct has to be the focus in this regard. Topic number 10. Likewise, a person should not take revenge or hold a grudge towards another. What is an example of taking revenge? If A asks for a favor from his friend B, and B does not agree to do it for A, and the next day B asks A for a favor, and A answers to B, this reads like a math question. I will do this favor for you, I will not do this favor for you, just like you did not do it for me. So taking revenge would be like if you go to your neighbor, a person goes to his neighbor and asks to borrow the lawnmower, asks for a favor. Can I borrow your lawnmower? And the neighbor says, no, I ain't letting you borrow my lawnmower. And the next day, the neighbor comes over and says, can I borrow your mixer? You know, I'm going to make cookies. Can I borrow your mixer? And the person says, no, you didn't lend me your lawnmower. I ain't going to lend you my mixer. That would be a case of taking revenge. Kind of a tit for tat. You know, a person offended someone, and therefore the person that's offended is going to replicate the offense. If A says, I will do it for you, unlike you, who didn't want to do a favor for me, he is holding a grudge. So the person who's holding a grudge, it's like he's grumpy and he's going to tell the person off, but he's going to do it in a nice way, but he's holding a grudge. So if the guy goes over to his neighbor and says, lend me your lawnmower, and the guy says, no, I ain't going to lend you my lawnmower. The guy's holding, so the person is holding a grudge. So when his neighbor comes over the next day asking to borrow the mixer, and so the person says, yeah, you can borrow my mixer. I'm not like you, who wouldn't lend me a lawnmower. That's what they're referring to as holding a grudge. And we don't want to be holding grudges. When we're holding grudges, that's a negative character trait, and we don't want to have the negative. We want to have positive character traits in our lives. So just be nice to the guy, you know, and hopefully he'll replicate the next time he'll lend you the lawnmower, because he'll think to himself, oh, the guy lent me his mixer. He's nice, and I guess I should lend him my lawnmower when he asks for it. So you put the relationship on a positive note rather than on a not so positive note, and it benefits both people in their inner personality. It benefits them. A person must know that these traits, taking revenge or holding a grudge, are extremely bad, and they bring enmity and conflict between mankind. Almost every fight starts with something small, which is not worthy of fighting over. And then it gets out of control, and hatefulness and arguing can end up in bloodshed or the like. So what happens? These grudges, these revenges, the cycle of revenge, the cycle of grudges. It has a war might start because two people, they didn't want to lend each other their stuff. The one guy doesn't want to lend his lawnmower, the other guy doesn't want to lend his mixer, and it anger towards each other. It builds and it builds and it builds, and before you know it, it's like you got people that are at war with each other. They can't really define why they're at war. They can't remember. The offense over the lawnmower or the mixer has been long forgotten, but they're still angry at each other, and it builds and builds. Or it can go the other way. If the guy lends them the mixing bowl and says, yeah, okay, no problem, and that's the end of that. If he's doing it friendly, then it can go. It builds into a positive thing, and we want to build a positive. Instead, a person should overlook the bad traits of another and do kindness to his friends until they all love him and his actions. And they will learn from him about the correct way to act. This is the truly good way in which it is correct to behave, and the true path by which it is possible to establish stable and productive societies which are based on good principles and peaceful business dealings between people. So we have to keep our mind on the goal. The goal is to have a proper society and proper people, the personalities within people to be developed in a proper way. Ourselves and also those around us. And everyone functioning in a morally in a proper manner. Topic number 11. All the things explained in this chapter are only a part and a few examples of a person's moral obligations. We have written this in brief as an introduction for those who wish to strive in gaining understanding and in following the correct ways with other people and with God. And it's volumes. I mean, libraries have been written on this subject. I mean, if you go to the regular library, you get the Jewish section that will have this subject is there's a lot, but even in the just the general area, you get bookshelves and bookshelves that are written on this topic of becoming a better person, and it's an area of much interest, and it's an area of much need for all of us. Here in the Divine Code is 4 pages. In a book, the same authors wrote this book recently, 7 Gates of Righteous Knowledge, and there's a much longer on this chapter. Also, the entire unit, the fundamentals of the faith, is given much more attention within this new book, the 7 Gates of Righteous Knowledge. But even beyond that, this book is a brief on these subjects. I mean, there's a lot, and a person can spend their entire lifetime becoming a better person, and that would be a lifetime well spent. Thank you.